Hey everyone, it's Michael. I hope you're doing well today. This is kind of a sad day. I think a lot of people have probably heard already. Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball, passed away, apparently about a week ago. And last night I came home from work, had some dinner with my wife, and roughly, I want to say around 12:30, 1 o'clock, somewhere in there, I saw on my YouTube feed a friend of mine named BD post that Akira Toriyama had passed away. And I was thinking to myself, there's no way. I went over to, Reddit, and I was looking around, and yeah, a lot of the official companies who had worked with Akira had posted this as well. Apparently, they gave him time to be buried and give his family time to grieve a little bit before really announcing it to the fans. And I gotta tell you, man, my heart sank into my stomach last night over this. Akira Toriyama, being the creator of Dragon Ball, he means so much to me because growing up, I was obsessed with Dragon Ball Z. He's one of the biggest three creators in my life that will mean the world to me my entire life. He, George Lucas, R.L. Stine, are the pinnacles of my interest in sci-fi, mainly horror and fantasy, because I'm not a sci-fi guy. I love Star Wars, though. Not a fantasy guy, but I love Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball in general, that whole world. It got me into manga and anime, despite having seen some animes before it, on Toonami, like Sailor Moon and stuff that I enjoyed, but Dragon Ball Z was what got me into it. I didn't even realize it was Japanese at the time when I was a kid. But Akira Toriyama created something so special, and he was such a clever writer, despite his exhaustion with Dragon Ball after Z for a long time. And I just don't even know what to think today. I couldn't sleep last night. I talked to a couple of my friends this morning. My friend Anthony talked about this too. Both of us, being diehard Dragon Ball fans, couldn't sleep well last night knowing that this man wasn't around anymore. This is about a man that I've never even met before, but I want this video to be kind of a love letter to him. A guy I've never even met, dude. That's strange, but this is different from a lot of different celebrity deaths that have affected me. When Carrie Fisher passed away, I didn't grow up in the 80s. I'm a 90s guy. I was born in the 90s. So, I loved Star Wars, like I said, because of George Lucas. I watched the originals and the prequels over and over and over again. Seeing Carrie be gone was very sad to me. But not as, it didn't hit me as hard as something like this. Like, Toriyama being gone put a void into this world. It was another piece of my childhood that's gone, that I'll never see ever again, and never see product from ever again. And selfishly, I immediately thought to myself, where's Dragon Ball going to go after this? Dragon Ball Super's manga, which is still ongoing even though the show is gone, basically. Toyotaru, who was a fan who Toriyama brought in to work on the manga, and apparently he's taken over a lot of the story elements and the writing of those stories, not just the art, in recent years. I didn't know about that. I just heard about this last night when I was looking up so much and saw the reaction from Toyotaru on Twitter, I believe is what it was that people were sharing. I have a ton of faith in Toyotaru because I had a lot of faith in Toriyama. Toriyama seems to have done this Goku Gohan thing of where back in the day Gohan was supposed to take over the whole series from, the end of the Cell games into the Majin Buu saga and so on and so on. That original transfer never took place, but it feels like this is the setup, like in real life. Like Goku is gone, Gohan has to take over. Toyotaru, my heart goes out to you, dude. I cannot imagine the feeling of the pressure that poor guy feels right now of what he has to do to really continue to show appreciation for this franchise and respect for it. Because it's all on his throat now, whether he just wraps it up or whether he continues it on for whenever, if he continues to go with it. I would not want to be in his shoes. But at the same time, the dude deserves it. His art is great in my opinion. I'm a huge fan, like I said, of the manga. Currently, Dragon Ball Super is my favorite ongoing manga, and I never wanted to read this or watch it until last year when a friend of mine convinced me to go ahead and try the show out because I hated the Dragon Ball Super movies. But let me kind of backpedal a little bit. where did I even get into Akira Toriyama? You know, he's not just the guy who did Dragon Ball. He did a bunch of other things out there that I've never watched, never read, any of that. This is mainly going to be about my love for Dragon Ball from this man that means so much to me. Now, again, this came out, Z came out in the 80s. I don't know when Dragon Ball came out. That might have been the late 70s, early 80s. But Dragon Ball Z was my thing, and I've only seen a handful of Dragon Ball episodes, so I can't speak too much to that. But Dragon Ball Z was premiering here in the US in the 90s and in the 2000s. I think I was about 4 or 5 when my mom came home from going to, I guess, Walmart or something, I don't know. She came back and she had bought me a couple of random action figures because I was a spoiled, rotten kid. And they were from something called Dragon Ball Z I'd never seen. They kind of came in a packaging that reminded you of what, like Dollar Tree store toys would have come in. They were quality for the 90s, but just so you know, the younger generation who might be listening to this know what it was like to see these packages. They weren't super stylized. They had like a black background with like the Super Saiyan, yellowish colored dust, whatever you want to call that stuff, kind of in the background too. It was yellowish and bluish, and it said Dragon Ball Z above the top. And the first ones I ever got, I'm pretty sure were Vegito with black hair, not the Super Saiyan one. And at this time in America, you could get the toys basically where they didn't have movable legs, their arms would move, but like the shirts would come off, because a lot of the time in Dragon Ball Z, people would get in fights, they would lose their clothing. It was very strange, but, the toys had to, do that as well. And I always loved that as a kid, because that was what Dragon Ball Z was to me. Anyway, I got him, and I got, I think, either Vegeta or Piccolo. I think it was Piccolo. Pretty sure it was Piccolo, Kid Trunks, which would have already been premiering in America, or in Japan by that time. I didn't know who he was. I think it was those two and Vegito. I'm pretty sure. But I had them, and I still have them to this day. All 3 of those figures in a box, of course, because I moved into this new house with my wife, and we haven't had time to really put anything out. I kind of have my toys from when I was a kid kind of piled away in the basement somewhere. But anyway, I loved those toys. And back in the day, Dragon Ball Z toys were so good, and they're still well made if you get the good stuff now. They don't even put them in the toys section at like Walmarts and stuff, by the way. You have to like go to the electronics and stuff, which is so strange to me because of how incredible Dragon Ball Z is. Anyway, I had those toys, had not even seen the show yet, and then I remember seeing either an episode on TV or the video game. After I had just gotten a PS2, it was one of the first PS2 games I ever got when I finally got a PS2. It was Dragon Ball Z Budokai, which is a fighting game, kind of like in the vein of Mortal Kombat. And I think by that point of getting that game, I'm pretty sure I had seen a couple of episodes and had gotten absolutely obsessed with it. I don't think I had VHS tapes yet, but I'm pretty sure that I had seen enough that I loved it already. I loved the martial arts stuff. My dad always talked about how much he loved like martial arts films and fighting movies. He was a big action guy, but he loved Bruce Lee and stuff, or he still loves him. He's not gone, but he loved that kind of stuff when I was a kid and my parents were together. And I never understood it. I was into, Star Wars and stuff like that, which is also kind of action. But I didn't get the martial arts thing until I saw Dragon Ball Z and understood how fun that could be, despite it being more fantasy and supernatural and so on and so on. But I loved it. It was like nothing I'd ever seen in my entire life. And I don't think kids nowadays, who are all into anime with how popular that is here, I don't think they understand what that was like back in the day, because even things that were introduced to me before Dragon Ball Z, like Gundam, was not the action martial arts set piece, and shonen in general wasn't as big at the time in America as something like this. I didn't know about One Piece. I didn't know about Naruto when Dragon Ball Z was happening here in America. None of that stuff had really come here yet. Most people, especially people my age, didn't know about it by the time I was 5 or 6. Anyway, I got Dragon Ball Z Budokai. To this day, it is my second favorite Dragon Ball Z game of all time. My favorite being Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. I remember playing through that trilogy as they came out once a year and just being disappointed with Budokai 2. But Budokai 3 was incredible. Then I got Tenkaichi 1. Never played any more of them after that, aside from like Burst Limit. But I've played other ones over the years. But anyway, Budokai Tenkaichi was so different, and I hated the control scheme because I didn't know how to do anything, so I didn't get that game. But Budokai 3 and Budokai 1, I think I played A billion times, dude. To this day, I still every once in a while just put them in my PS2 and play them all over again because I just love those two games so deeply. And I know the music was stolen and so on and so on. There's a lot of caveats to that, but damn, they're great. They're great, man. And then I ended up getting more and more VHS tapes of the show, as I also simultaneously watched it on the TV. Now, Budokai 1 caught me up on a lot of the story that I didn't know about Dragon Ball Z, or about, Goku and Krillin and their history, and Gohan and watching him grow up as I grew up. All of these things meant so much to me, but the Dragon Ball Z VHS tapes were so important. They only had like 3 or 4 episodes per VHS tape, which isn't even like a full hour and a half of media most of the time. But growing up, that's all we had if we hadn't seen them premiere here on TV in America. And I loved how the VHS tapes, by the way, in case you didn't know this, because a lot of you probably don't watch VHS tapes anymore, the VHS tapes as I was growing up had pictures on the spine, so every single set of an arc that you would watch would have their own new, design, just like the books do, right? That was so cool to me. That was always such a cool thing, and I always wanted all of them. I'll never collect all of them because VHS tapes don't last super long, but I have tapes across the room I'm looking at right now, and they're not only the ones that I had gotten as gifts from my grandparents for, I don't know, whatever, like a gift, like a birthday or a weekly allowance or whatever. Not even that, but I have VHS tapes over there from Dragon Ball Z that I used to rent all of the time from Hollywood Video and Blockbuster Video, mainly Hollywood Video. That's where my family mostly went. But I have, when Goku and Frieza were fighting, the final moments of that fight, when the planet Namek is about to destroy itself entirely. I have that on VHS tape, sitting right over there with the protective casing Hollywood Video and Blockbuster Video used to put around VHS tapes to protect the box art and stuff. It's horrible taking them out of the cases because of that horrible scratching noise it makes, but I have those right there looking at me. I have the toys in this house somewhere. I have the video games on my shelf over there looking right at me. And some of the games I haven't even played before, like Dragon Ball Z Sagas, or, the one that I was disappointed with, Super Dragon Ball Z. But anyway, this franchise meant the world to me growing up. And as I watched it on TV, most of what I saw was the tail end of the Cell games, I think, if I remember correctly here in America, the premiere of that. But I know for a fact that I saw the entirety of the Majin Buu saga every day because they played one episode a day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. You would get a brand new episode on Toonami. And I'd watch things again like Sailor Moon and so on and so on. But one episode a day, every day of the week, for 5 days to catch us up. So it took a couple of years to watch Dragon Ball Z all the way through as I was growing up. But dude, it was a massive part of my childhood. I got all of my friends into it, my best friends when I was a kid, like TC and Andrew, Tracy, a bunch of kids that I was really close with. And I still talk to one of them to this day because the other ones all kind of lost touch. They all moved away over time. But we would get in the swimming pool in my backyard and stuff, and we would all spike our hair up to go Super Saiyan and stuff, and we would push water at each other and splash each other with water as a way of using an energy blast and a Kamehameha. And dude, I know my neighbors had to have hated our guts because of how much we were out there screaming all of the time trying to power up and go Super Saiyan. Dude, to this day, I would have beat my neighbor's ass if they had acted the way we acted out there. But, it was a different time. But I have all of these memories of things like that. And it makes me so desperately sad to think about how that part of my life is gone, but also now Akira Toriyama is gone. And I hope I get to meet him one day. As a Christian, I hope I get to meet him one day. I hope that he was too, and I hope just in general that I get to meet this man because he was so incredible. He's one of those people, again, like Lucas, like Stein, that I would love to talk to and just tell them how much they meant to me. I don't really think I have anything else to say, aside from right now, again, Dragon Ball Super is my current favorite ongoing manga, and I don't know how much is left. And it's going to be a bittersweet feeling the rest of my life, knowing things like Dragon Ball Daima is coming out, which is a new anime thing, kind of oddly enough, very much like GT. Everybody's a bunch of kids, I don't know why, but nobody does yet. I don't know what's going to happen with things like that, but it would be awesome if it was a last gift from Toriyama. I cannot tell you, again, the amount of weight that I feel in my stomach today because of the whole Toriyama thing. This man, dude, the writing, the creativity behind his work, the impact of Dragon Ball, not only in Japan, but here in America, how it changed everything. It's been parodied all over the place. Like, I remember when Codename Kids Next Door did a parody of Dragon Ball Z. It's everywhere. The jokes from the internet, the videos from the internet, when Super wasn't even around, when GT had wrapped up and stuff. Just watching all of these things, all of these years, from fans making, Super Saiyan CGI videos on their own YouTube accounts over the years when I was a kid and obsessed with that and wanted to make movies when I was a kid. All of that stuff was just such a big part of my life. I don't think I could explain it enough. But anyway, I think that's pretty much it. This is a character, Goku, created by this man, Akira Toriyama, that I dressed up as for Halloween at least 2 different years, with the full costume, everything, and just the idea that this is done. Because usually when a creator of a manga is gone, like the recent death, I think last year, of the creator of Berserk, which I just started reading Volume 1, by the way, when he passed away, his series wasn't done. I think they either wrapped it up finally or are still working on that right now. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, But I guess after that's done, it's done. There is no Hollywoodization of taking a property from somebody and continuing it on, There's nothing like that as far as I know with Japanese properties. I could be wrong. I mean, they did GT without Toriyama much, but he had claimed at the time it was canon, and I guess he gave them his blessing at one point too. But even so, I just wish that I had more closure about all of this, and I hope the Dragon Ball is able to end, in a great way. But again, I would not want to be Toyotaru. I would not want to be him because I cannot imagine the stress, the panic, the frustrations of what he's going to have to do from here, and the sadness of having to deal with it too. I hope he takes a little break before he continues anything onward. This is his baby now, I feel bad for the guy. But at the same time, Toyotaru, you're probably not listening to this, but we all have faith in you. At least I do. Anyway, when it comes to the death of Mr. Akira Toriyama, I'm very sad about this, and I almost cried last night. I don't even do that. I'm not even the kind of guy who cries about stuff, but this is one of those things that really, really hit me, like the death of my grandmother back in 2015. I saw a video last night of, I didn't know that Star Wars Theory, who I love, has another channel called Dragon Ball Theory, and he made a video and he was crying, man, and that really hit me too, because I think everybody's feeling this today, who grew up in the 90s and even in the 80s in Japan, people who knew about this for so long. This will never be forgotten. Dragon Ball will live on forever. And Akira, I'm going to be sad. It's a sad world without this guy. Anyway, with all that being said, I would love to hear your thoughts, your memories, all of that down to the comment section down below about this horrible loss, man. This just sucks so bad. Anyway, is Dragon Ball your favorite manga? For me, or anime, I guess, whatever, creation, Japanese property, franchise. For me, it's easily my top 10 franchises, with Star Wars, with Goosebumps, with, whatever that I'm talking about. Maybe one day I'll rank that out. But anyway, Akira Toriyama, I love you. God rest you. I hope I get to meet you one day, like I said. Anyway, thank you all for watching, guys. Love to hear everything about your life and your love for Akira, his Dragon Ball work, whatever other property he did out there that people know and love too, apparently. I'd love to hear everything you have to say about the subject. And, yeah, let's just take some time to mourn about this, man. This is really, really sad, man. Anyway, thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all, and goodbye.